Hey guys, so sorry it's been a bit. It's just been a little crazy with the holidays and all of the stuff that comes with it. Can I just say, as an introvert, that I am so excited for the holidays to almost be over. This time of the year it comes with a lot of complicated feelings for me. I just have struggles. Anyway, um, so tonight I'm just gonna do another one of my night owl rambles that I like to do every now and then, where I just kind of chat about whatever's going on in my practice, or basically whatever's on my mind. And I have a few things in mind that I want to talk about, a few things I'm going to share, and then get into somewhat of a change in my practice and all that stuff. So first things first, I forgot one of the things I was going to share downstairs. Whatever, it's fine. I picked up a few things journal supply wise. First was this little stamp. I don't have it with me, but it's about the size of my palm basically, and it's a calendar, and it's awesome because you can use it for habit trackers, or I plan on using it in my tarot journal, basically taking it and stamping. Where is my tarot journal? It's right here. This is the new one for 2020, as you guys know, and I have started to do some work in it, but I'll just show you like a page that I did some watercolor just on. But I plan on putting the stamp in the corner and just highlighting the week that I'm on. There's plenty of other things I can do that would be creative with that. But anyway, then the other thing I decided to get was this cute little set of their like weather icons. And I planned on doing those with my daily draws, because whenever I do my daily draws and I write them down in my book of mirrors, I always wrote down what the weather was and what the moon phase was and what sign the moon is in and that kind of stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to do that. So there's those. So I'll put them back where I had them. And then I wanted to share something that was sent to me by my friend Heather. She sent me a Christmas card, and in it she sent some stickers from her shop, and they're these cute little vintage style stickers. Of course the camera just doesn't want to focus on it. I'm gonna put it in front of my face. Okay, well, yeah. But yeah, they are super cute. I love that she did one that was all divination-y as well. So I'll put the link to her shop down below. She makes some incredible stuff. I know I talked about her recently in another video of mine as well. And then the other thing I wanted to share was I recently picked up my very first mala. I've always wanted a mala, and I have loved empowering jewelry for a specific purpose since I was little. I remember I wanted a rosary, and I wasn't even Catholic. I just liked the idea of it. So yeah, this is my very first mala. It's called the Dark Moon Mala from malaprayer.com, which I can put their link below too. It's really good quality, and honestly, they're having a sale right now. I think this is normally like $40, and I got it for like 15. So yeah, but it has, these beads right here are obsidian. I was trying to remember the name of, and then these are moonstone. So it's beautiful. I love it. I kind of want to put a charm on the bottom, like a moon charm on it maybe, or something. I haven't decided yet, but I just want to hold this all the time. I'm gonna put it on. This might be distracting. It's gonna be distracting. Anyway, it's beautiful, and I absolutely love it, and it just feels so nice to hold. So that is my first mala. I wanted a mala for years, and I just never picked one up. And then I had the opportunity to, so there we go. And then the other things that I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit was Personified Deity. Now, I've rambled on and on about Personified Deity and my experiences with Personified Deity on my channel before. My path seems to be ever changing, and in the last year and a half or so, it's changed quite a bit. But I will do the abridged version as much as I can for you guys because recently I had another shift, which surprised me, but also didn't surprise me, which is just interesting. But so I resisted working with Personified Deity for the longest time in my practice. I always wanted to identify as pantheistic because I felt that it was the most easiest way to explain things to someone who, for say, isn't spiritual or has more of a scientific outlook on life, which I generally do. But I also have that spiritual side to me, and I just felt like I needed to cater to the logical side of me more so than the spiritual side to try and explain things to other people. And then I realized that just wasn't working, and it was more so that I realized it after Personified Deity kind of came into my life and slapped me in the face. So I've worked with a handful of different Personified Deity throughout my practice, starting initially in the beginning of my early 20s, which was the Irish mother goddess Danu, which it ended up being more of a personification of the Mother Earth deity that I seem to always believe in since I was a child. And that took the face of her. And I worked with her and the Morgan mostly throughout my 20s. The Morgan more so in my late 20s. And that occurred to... my experiences with the Morgan occurred to me through a dream, which most of the time when Personified Deity comes into my life, it is either through a dream or a set of synchronicities, which is just interesting how that happens. I'm sure many of you will know what I'm talking about when you have these experiences, but Personified Deity, so my experiences with Danu was more of a, oh, so that's what she's called. That's what her name is. Now I know the name to something that has always been with me. And I had that mothering, loving energy throughout my 20s. And then by the time I hit 30, those two deities, the Morgan and Danu, which I honestly kind of thought were one side to the same coin, or two sides to the same coin, they sort of took a step back in my practice. And then I'd always kind of thought eventually that I would be drawn to the Norse pantheon because it is predominantly my bloodline. I am, I think, if I remember correctly, 40% Scandinavian. So it's the largest percentage in my blood. My grandparents on my mother's side, my grandfather, his parents immigrated from Sweden. So it's just, I just kind of always felt that would eventually happen. And I will preference, though, you do not have to be of Scandinavian blood to work with the Norse gods. They welcome anybody, of course. As with, I think any deity does, but because I honestly think that, I'm going to try not to go on a side ramble here, but underneath this fleshy body of me is a spirit that I think deity sees when they come to you. They don't see this, they see your spirit. I hope that makes sense. It sounds so strange to say, but I mean, yeah, told you guys this is going to be a night owl ramble, so it's going to be a bit rambly. So, my pull towards the Norse gods initially started with Odin, but it wasn't a very strong presence, like a continuous working. It was more of a, this deity was going to come into my practice and sort of very silently guide me in the background. And that's typically how I see Odin. His energy becomes more prevalent around this time of the year. I honor him the most during winter solstice. And he basically, the best way I can describe him is Gandalf. He basically is that wise old guiding sage type figure to me. And I know many people have different experiences with personified deity through their own personal gnosis, but for me, that's my experiences with Odin. And that initially started with having a dream of Odin. And I know I've talked about this. I know this time, around this time last year, I actually even did a video on Odin. But that happened, I think, shortly before I turned 30. And once I think a few months into 30, I suddenly was drawn to Freya. And it wasn't anything that occurred through a dream or anything like that. All of a sudden, I was just very drawn to her. I wanted to learn everything I could about her. And I bought a statue of her, which typically when I buy a statue of a deity, to me, that's a big commitment to have an effigy of a deity, a personified deity in your home. Although I will say that there are statues that I have of deity in my home that more have a presence on a shrine than a working altar. For instance, I have a little shelf in my living room that has Kuan Yin and Bastet on there, and those two are the deities that I consider deities that sort of watch over my household energy. So Kuan Yin brings in that loving compassion, that kindness, the peaceful energy. It also is sort of a nostalgic thing because as I was growing up, my grandmother actually had a lot of statues of Kuan Yin around her house. And then Bastet is because I have cats and I leave catnip for as an offering in hopes to watch over my kitties. So, I do have that incorporated in my practice as well, in the sense of those two deities do have statues, but they're not on a working altar. But Freya, I just felt this need to understand her, to work with her, to study her mythology, to study her as a deity, and ever since then, that will be 4 years this spring, she has been my main deity that I have worked with. Since then, there's only been, so far until recently, only one other deity that stepped into my practice, but then took more of a, I just want a place here, and that's it, approach, and that was Santa Morte. And she more just, I think, wanted to be represented on my altar for the dead. And with some of the experiences that I have gone through with mediumship and communicating with those who have passed, I think that she just needed she needed a presence there, and left it at that. So I do have her statue, and I do leave all offerings for her on my altar of the dead. But I don't actively work with her in my practice as an active deity, whereas with Freya, I definitely do. Odin more so around the darker time of the year. During the lighter time of the year, I tend to have, Odin tends to be kind of more in the background of my practice, if that makes any sense. But recently I had been going through a lot of depression, which tends to really happen a lot over this time of the year. And it's more so recently just because I have a lot of very fresh grief, and I've experienced a lot of loss over the last few years here, especially with losing my mother, and I was struggling quite a bit, which is one of the other reasons why you guys didn't really see any videos from me for a little bit there, is because it's been a little rough. But I'm alright, and I'm pulling through, and but I was discussing this with a few of my good friends, and I won't name names right now just because I don't know if they want me to, but I was discussing this, and a really good friend of mine who works with this deity had spoken up and said, maybe you need the presence of a mother deity in your practice again. And I knew that Danu was not who she was speaking about, because Danu came into my practice and she had her purpose, and that was it. Her presence in my practice is no longer prevalent anymore. And it's kind of interesting that I intuitively knew that. And I'm sure, those of you who work with Personified Deity, this might make a little more sense to you than those who do not. But it's just interesting to listen to other people talk about their experiences with Personified Deity, and hence why I want to share my experiences with Personified Deity. Man, this video is going to be rambly. But essentially, it all boiled down to this friend of mine works with this deity that has come into my practice now, and she essentially suggested that I do the same. And as soon as she did, I realized that was exactly what I had been needing. And I had been needing a mother deity in my practice again, mostly to heal some of the wounds that I have from losing my mother, but also the fact that I have not worked with a mother deity since I became a mother myself. And sometimes we need that motherly guidance, and I used to get that from my own mother. I would call her after both of my sons were born, and just tell her, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to do this, and I worry that I'm going to fail at the thing that matters the most to me, which is being a mother. And I don't have that anymore. I don't have the one person who on this planet should know that I could do this because she raised me. I don't have her anymore. I lost her. I lost her because cancer is horrible, and I, in my grief, have ignored how to heal those wounds, because grief does really messed up stuff to us, and it's not pretty. So this was, I think, a manifestation of my depression, especially around this time of the year. And when it's your mom that you have lost, every memory that you have of the holidays is connected to her, because she is what made all of your memories of Christmas and the holidays and all that stuff growing up. It was all everything that she did, and at least in my case, and in most cases, not all, but most. So I had started to work with this deity, which is Frigga, the Norse goddess of marriage and love. She's Odin's wife. She's also a mother goddess, and she is a seer, and which I also think kind of ties into, bringing about my intuition and learning to trust myself. So I have made an altar for her, which I will share. I will do an updated altar tour pretty soon here, but I did want to kind of ramble a little bit about that experience with Frigga and inviting her into my practice, and kind of needing her in the sense of healing a lot of the wounds that I carry, and not just because I have lost my own mother, but again, as I said, because I am a mother, and it is really, really fucking hard to be a mother. It is not perfect, and most of the time you're winging it and thinking, my God, what am I doing? And sometimes going to a place in your spiritual practice where you have a deity that is personified with that energy of motherhood, that is something that I think is very healing and very beautiful, and there's a lot that can be said to it. So yeah, that's basically my gigantic rant tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed my little not so little night owl ramble here. I just really wanted to share some things that were on my mind, and as you guys know, I occasionally do these rambles where I just talk about some of the stuff that's going on. So with that being said, it's Christmas Eve, so I just want to say to everybody that I hope you had a wonderful holiday season, and I definitely plan on making more videos. I have a ton of content that I am thinking about pumping out with the new year coming up, and some of the things that I kind of want to talk about as we go into 2020. So look ahead for those. everything should start calming down a little bit here with, you know, the holidays and stuff just about being over. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys tonight. Thanks for sticking with me for this gigantic ramble. Blessed be.